BMW is about to do something many enthusiasts once thought was impossible. Build an M3 without an engine. No exhaust noise, no piston, no screaming straight six, no roaring V8, just electricity. And for some people, that's the moment the M3 dies. But here is the funny thing. This isn't the first time enthusiasts have said that. When BMW replaced the original M3, people said it was dead. When BMW introduced the V8, people said it was dead. When BMW added turbochargers, people said it was dead. When BMW reviewed the giant grille, people said it was dead too. Yet somehow, the M3 survived every single time. And to understand why, we have to go back to where the story began. Not with an electric car, not with a luxury sedan, but with a race car. A race car that accidentally became a legend. Before there was an M3, there was BMW Motorsport. Back in the 1970s, BMW wasn't the giant performance brand we know today. The company had racing ambitions, big ambitions, but they needed a dedicated division to turn these ambitions into reality. So in 1972, BMW created the BMW Motorsport GmbH, a small team with one mission: build cars that could win. The first masterpiece arrived in 1978, BMW M1, a mid-engine supercar that looked nothing like any BMW before it. It was exotic, rare, expensive, and incredibly ambitious. But despite all that brilliance, the BMW M1 wasn't the car that would define the BMW M. That car hadn't arrived yet. Because while the M1 proved BMW could build a supercar, the company was about to build something even more important. A car ordinary people could actually buy. A car that could carry the M badge into the future. The early 1980s were a golden age for touring car racing. Manufacturers fought fiercely for victories, and BMW wanted to dominate. But there was a problem. The rules required manufacturers to sell road-going versions of their race cars. If you wanted to race it, you had to build it. So BMW engineers got to work. They took the humble E33 series and transformed it. Wider fenders, new suspension, improved aerodynamics, a high revving 4-cylinder engine. Every change had one purpose: winning. Not comfort, not luxury, but winning. When the E30 M3 arrived in 1986, it didn't look outrageous, but underneath the sheet metal, it was a completely different animal. And once it reached the racetrack, it started collecting trophies, then more trophies, then even more trophies. The E30 M3 became one of the most successful touring cars ever built. It won championships across Europe, it dominated races around the world, and in the process, it even earned something more valuable than trophies: respect. The M3 had arrived, but success created a new problem. How do you replace a legend? By the early 1990s, the world had changed. Customers wanted more than just a race car for the road. They wanted comfort, technology, refinement, usability. BMW listened, and in 1992, the E36 M3 arrived. Immediately, the criticism began. The new car was larger, heavier, more civilized, less aggressive. Many enthusiasts believed that BMW had lost its way. But in reality, BMW wasn't abandoning the M3. It was evolving it. The company realized something important. If the M3 wanted to survive, it couldn't remain a niche race-bred machine forever. It had to grow. And despite the criticism, people bought it. Lots of people. The M3 was becoming something special. It was becoming a global performance icon, bigger than a homologation special. Even some enthusiasts didn't realize it yet. Then came the car many people still worship today, the E46 M3. For many enthusiasts, this wasn't just another M3. This was the M3. The perfect balance, the perfect proportion, the perfect character. At its heart was the BMW legendary S54 engine, a naturally aspirated straight six that loved to rev. And when it approached the red line, it sounded alive. Everything about the E46 felt special. The steering, the balance, the connection between the driver and the machine. Even today, more than 2 decades later, people still compare every M3 against it. But that created a dangerous problem for BMW. Because how do you improve perfection? The answer was simple: you don't. You change everything. When BMW reviewed the E92 M3, people were shocked. The straight 6 engine was gone, and in its place, a naturally aspirated V8. To many enthusiasts, this was sacrilege. The M3 had abandoned its roots again. But then people heard it, and everything changed. The V8 screamed toward the red line with a sound unlike anything else in its class. It wasn't just fast, it was emotional. It felt special every time you started it, every time you accelerated it, every time you chased the red line. Today, the E92 holds a unique place in the M3 history because it remains the only V8 powered M3 ever built. A glorious experiment, one that many people initially doubted and eventually fell in love with. But the automotive world was changing again, and BMW could see the storm coming. By the early 2010s, emission regulations were tightening. Fuel economy mattered more than ever, and naturally aspirated engines were becoming endangered. BMW had a decision to make: adapt or get left behind. The result was the V8 M3. Gone was the V8, back to the straight 6. But now it was turbocharged. The reaction was immediate. People hated the sound. They claimed BMW had traded character for performance. But the numbers were impossible to ignore. The V8 was brutally fast, relentlessly capable, and very effective. As years passed, criticism faded, and another generation entered M3 Hall of Fame. Then came the G80. Before anyone even drove it, the internet had already made up its mind. The grille, the giant grille. Social media exploded. Memes appeared everywhere. Comment sections turned into battlefields. Many enthusiasts declared it was the ugliest BMW ever made. But then journalists drove it. Owners bought it. Track tests began, and a different story emerged. Beneath the controversial styling was one of the best M3 BMW had ever produced. Sharper, faster, more capable, more complete. Once again, history repeated itself. People hated it, they respected it, they loved it. The cycle continued. But now, BMW is preparing its most radical change yet. For nearly 40 years, every M3 had an engine, a beating mechanical heart, something you could hear, something you could feel. But now BMW is preparing an M3 that may have none of those things. The upcoming electric M3 represents the biggest gamble in the history of the M badge. 4 motors, advanced torque vectoring, instant power, technology capable of outperforming every M3 before it. And yet, this is what enthusiasts are asking. The question isn't whether it will be fast. Of course it will be fast. The question is whether it will feel like an M3. Because the M3 was never just about the performance. It was about emotion, connection, character. And those things are harder to measure than horsepower. And maybe that's why the story of the BMW M3 is so fascinating. Because every generation faced resistance. Every generation was criticized. Every generation was accused of abandoning the formula. Yet every generation survived. E36 wasn't the end. E92 wasn't the end. The F80 wasn't the end. The G80 wasn't the end either. And maybe, just maybe, electric M3 won't be the end. Because the legacy of the M3 was never about a specific engine, or a specific sound, or a specific generation. It was about evolution, the willingness to change, the courage to take risks, the determination to move forward. And after 40 years, BMW is about to take the biggest risk yet. The only question now is whether history is about to repeat itself one more time.